Alright, hello and welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, please do go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to cover all sorts of news and reviews in the EV world, but today we're taking a little bit of a departure and we're going to be looking at our amazing Tesla solar and Powerwall installation. So come along with me, I'll walk you all the way through the process that took us a bit over 6-7 months to complete, and we are finally done and produce a nice green, clean machine energy up here now. So let's walk through all of that together. Come along with me.
That's right.
All right, and we're inside now. We're about to get into the nerdy details, as you can tell by my glasses. Very different persona now. All right, so let's start off here with some of the economics and how we went with this decision on solar. So first off, we took and analyzed a bunch of our bills. I was able to pull our last set of annual bill, or our monthly bills out over the last little over a year, dumped those into a spreadsheet, and basically what I could find then is how many kilowatt hours we're using each month and breakdown of the cost of the kilowatt hours. So right now we are on JCP&L's normal residential service electric rates, which actually makes it very easy to calculate because it's basically a flat rate plan, and there are only really different rates between the winter and summer, but even then it doesn't really change that much. So what I found is we're basically paying 14 cents in the months from October to May, and like 15 to 16 cents in the months of the summer. So I guess June through September. And it varies a little bit because the winter is just a flat rate. The summer is a different rate for up to 600 kilowatt hours and then beyond it. So that's why the variance between 15 and 16 cents per kilowatt hour. But it's really quite cheap. Now we do also have the option of switching to a time of use plan, which would mean that we would, time of day service. So then you pay a little bit more for like the connection, but you basically then pay, depending on whether or not you are consuming the energy during peak, which they define as 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday, and all the other times are off peak. And for example, the example that they give us here is that on peak would be 18 cents a kilowatt hour. Off peak would be about 11. So if honestly, we consume most of ours off peak anyway. We have our EV charging scheduled to happen at night. We could actually now, with the batteries and everything, switch entirely basically to consuming only at night and essentially always be at that 11 cents rate. So we're probably actually going to end up switching to that. But for now, at least, we're not using that. So that's one thing to factor into your equations as well. But then I could also see that essentially we're using somewhere between like 800 and, most months between 800 and 1200 kilowatt hours. We, for some reason in August of last year, jumped all the way up to 2300. And obviously that'd be the hottest month, and we had a little bit of a heat wave then. According to the report, at least, we had an average daily temperature of 84 degrees compared to a high of 77 in September and July. So that explains the higher usage, but that seems a little bit high for us, and anyway, kind of averages out throughout the year anyway. So our average throughout the year is 1,231 kilowatt hours used per month. So then taking all of that into account, basically knew like how much we are paying for energy each year and how much offsetting that would help. So we then went and shopped around, honestly only a tiny bit. We only really looked at kind of two different options here. So we looked at Sunrun. I saw very, kind of up and down reviews of them across the internet and in videos. They do go partner with Costco and go through there. So we looked at that and the rates were not too bad. But I didn't like that they were just like a little bit pushier on the sales, and They didn't give you quite as much information, and I think like that just made me a little bit worried that maybe they weren't going to be as transparent and that they're going to try to take advantage a little bit more of people who don't know exactly what they're doing. So then the one that we actually looked way more deeply into and ended up going with is Tesla. Advantage here, it's not much of an advantage, but like we're already customers through the cars that we've owned. There's a slight integration with being able to charge during the times that you're producing the most solar and telling it to stop charge when you're actually running entirely off of battery power. So that's cool. And then I just like the Tesla app, and I think it's really cool. So I'll show that in a minute, but I just love all of the information that it gives. And then they also gave us kind of the most options in terms of financing, buying, leasing, as well as kind of more visibility into exactly what they'd be doing. So that's roughly like why we ended up doing that. Honestly, we could have shopped around a little bit more. We might have been able to save a little bit more money, but I just kind of trusted what I'd read about what Tesla does in the solar game, and just kind of went with it for the convenience and the ease of it. Now, we also looked at a couple of different options in terms of battery storage. So each battery would have cost us about $6,500. And it varies a little bit depending. There's like credits that you get in rebates and stuff, and so it can go up and down quite a bit. And so what we were sort of debating between 2 or 3 Powerwall batteries, and we ended up going with 2 because we figured that was going to be more than enough for us to have sort of a buffer between what we produce with the solar and when we're actually consuming it throughout the day, as well as having some good flexibility in terms of backup if we do lose power. So for us, the backup was an important factor, not necessarily the most important one. We don't lose power all that often here, but we wanted to at least have a couple of days where we'd be able to run off of battery power, especially after some of the more extended periods of time that we've had over the last decade or so, from Hurricane Sandy, when we lost power for I think like almost 2 weeks or something, to some of the more recent storms where we've lost it for a couple of days. So really nice to be able to just run off of battery power at that point. So when this house was first built, they actually put the concrete pad in and have all of the gas lines and stuff wired for a generator to be installed. So we had the option to kind of add that on and decided not to. And in the meantime, prices of that kind of through COVID went up massively. And it's basically double the price now that it would have been even like 2.5 years ago. So rather than like putting that money into a natural gas generator, which I'm not really a big fan of and it's noisy and not good, we figured use that instead on the power walls and give ourselves some nice backup there. And the other reason that you almost definitely are going to want power walls or battery backup with solar is that there's a difference between when you're producing the energy from the solar panels and when you're actually using it, right? So you're only going to produce solar energy kind of throughout the daytime when the sun is up and shining on the panels, and that is not necessarily going to match your consumption exactly. So you need to have some displacement between the production and your usage. That could just be putting it back into the grid or consuming from the grid as you need, but having batteries actually allows you to have a little bit more flexibility with that, and you can essentially store all of the excess power that you're producing throughout the day and then use that at night when you're not producing, which is what we're doing. So what that ended up being for us was $12,390 for the 2 batteries themselves, and that includes some of the rebates and everything with it. I think at the time they were doing a rebate of $500 per Powerwall, so $1,000 total, and we also got a $500 referral bonus, or like loyalty bonus, by using my referral code, which you can get as well. So make sure you do check that out in the description below. Then on the panels themselves, so when we first, Tesla's got a nice website where you can kind of plan all of this and price it out. When we first put our house in there, they kind of look it up. They use like satellite imagery and estimate how many panels they think they'll be able to put on and how much production you would get. So the initial estimate said that we'd have 14.59 kilowatt panels, and that would translate to 16,548 annual kilowatt hours produced. Now, what ends up happening after that is, if you go through all of that stuff, you put down a deposit, and that's changed a little bit. I think for us it was, I don't remember, $500 maybe. And once they have that deposit and everything, they'll assign a project manager to you who will kind of call you, give you a call up, talk through some of the different options and stuff, and then they'll send somebody out to actually do an inspection, check out the roof, and see what's going to be possible to do. So what ended up happening for us is our roof, due to, it's got like a bunch of, I guess they just call it like features, different eaves, and there's like different peaks and stuff there. And then there's also a whole bunch of like obstacles in the way, essentially. So we've got some vents from the bathrooms. We've got, I think, like a heating vent for the laundry and dryer, and a couple other things up there that basically get in the way and they can't put panels there. There's also parts where the pitch of the roof is just too steep and they can't put panels. So, you can't get anywhere near 100% coverage of your entire roof. And so once they actually went up there and measured everything, they determined that we would be able to basically get 10.94 kilowatts system size in terms of the panels. I don't know exactly how many panels that translates to. I think 30 something, which is still quite a bit, but definitely less than that 14.59 than they initially estimated. And that translates to 9,631 annual kilowatt hours produced per their estimate. According to other stuff I read online, that estimate is actually a little bit low, but it's what's in all the paperwork from Tesla and what I kind of use for calculations, just since that's what they are basically, I wouldn't say guaranteeing, but like what they're planning. And so what that means for us is if we're producing 9,631 kilowatt hours annually, we are using 14,805. We're basically still going to be at a deficit of about 5,000, exactly 5,174 kilowatt hours annually. And so within annual kilowatt hour price, or that translates to an annual kilowatt hour price of $732 for us. We'll be saving $1,360 off of our electricity bill based on those kilowatt hours that we are producing. And so over the course of 25 years, that essentially comes out to be, that turns out to be $53,883.92 over 25 years, if that holds. And if we take that from, if we basically take out what the cost of our system is going to be, and I calculated that by basically just looking at our purchase price minus the various discounts and credits that we're going to get. So this ends up being a purchase price of $36,398.85. There is a $8,419.95 discount for the solar renewable energy credits, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Discount, and then we're also going to get $10,919.66 back federal tax discount, which everyone is eligible for. It's actually like one of the highest percentages of a tax discount you can possibly get. I think it's 30%, is it 30%? Something like that. 25%. Anyway, it's a lot, and there's no income or other limits on that. So basically everyone's eligible for that, which is great. So our net cost after all of those credits and everything is going to be $25,379.19. We also have a $1,000 rebate coming off of the Powerwall and that $500 referral or loyalty bonus that I mentioned. So at the end of the day, like our actual cash outflow for this to have it installed is going to be $24,379.19. So anyway, now if we go back to our 25 years of energy savings, which was $53,883.92. Subtract out our $24,379.19 cost. Basically, over 25 years, we're going to save $24,000, $24,041.92. Still with me? So annualizing that, or basically like applying how much it is where you're saving each year, we're basically going to pay this off somewhere toward the end of our 17th year, and then everything after that is going to be net savings going back into our pocket. So with a panel life of 25 years, which is what it's warranted for, we will actually end up saving $9,631.76. So it ends up being not, a tremendous amount of money. We're also, putting up quite a bit right now. And honestly, I think if we took the money that we're paying and like put it in a, especially with like the rates that we've got right now, if we put it into like a high yield thing, we actually might end up making more money. But it wasn't just about that for us. I think having, some sense of energy independence, as well as being able to utilize clean, sustainable energy that we're producing, and we know where it's coming from for our usage is great. And then, especially as we're consuming more and more energy with the 2 electric cars now, and we'll probably be moving more and more of our appliances over time to electricity as well. It just really felt like it made more sense for us, and it was worth doing even without like this massive savings. Plus, we're still going to be saving anyway, so it'll help us one way or the other. So that's basically all the calculations that we did and why we decided to pull the trigger on it. So one of the big reasons that we wanted to do this now also is that some of these credits and incentives basically decrease each year. So the federal tax one, like I mentioned, is a pretty large benefit right now. And there's no guarantee that that's going to last forever, and it could start going down at some point in the future. I think that they have basically set what the schedule for the next several years is, and it doesn't go down for at least like 3 to 5 years. But even still, we kind of just wanted to, might as well move now and get that locked in. And then the bigger thing is on these solar renewable energy credits, or what you may call SRECs. Basically, that program has changed multiple times now. So in New Jersey, we're now on the 3rd or 4th version of that. And basically, every time that they have done it again, the value of those credits goes down. And so basically what this is it's a credit that the energy provider is providing back to you, because they get, they're able to like essentially, reap incentives by producing clean energy. And they can actually, essentially make the claim that they're offsetting their, fossil fuel or like dirty energy production because of people installing solar and relying on that instead. So at the end of the day, that ends up being a benefit to the energy customers, and I think it's a great way to incentivize people to, take the leap on solar. And basically, how this works is they are giving you a credit for every 1,000 kilowatt hours of electricity that the panels produce each year. And so for each of those, you get one SREC, or in New Jersey's case now, they're actually called, I think, SUSIs or SUSIs. When this program was first announced, this was like a market basically where the energy providers would like bid, and it would kind of move around. And so when this was in like the first few years of it, this would be, the average was around $210 for each credit. Then that ended in, it started in 2004 and ended in 2020. If you're on that, you get to basically still, get in those rates, which is great. So essentially the way this works is like once you're in the program at that point, you get to stay in it. After that, they moved to TRECs, or great name, transitional renewable energy credits. Works basically the same way. And the rate for those is a set amount, so it's not like a market. And those were $91.20 per 1,000 kilowatt hours of energy produced. And depending on like different programs, you could get a little bit more. It would go all the way up to like $152. So that ended in August of 2021. And after that, New Jersey launched the successor program, which is why it's called SUSI. So still kind of works the same way, it's just the rates again are different. And this is a flat $85 rate. So, based off of all of those, if you had made it into the original SREC program in New Jersey, you'd be getting about 3 times as much as you will now. But there's also no guarantee, and it can move up and down. And if you got in pre-2021 and on the TREC program, you'd be getting $91.20 as opposed to $85, which can make a considerable difference. You're talking about generating potentially like thousands of these over the life of the panels. So basically, long story short, the earlier you get in on these things, the better, because you're getting higher rates and everything. So the successor program does not have a set end date right now, but it could end at some point in the future. Basically they said that they can continue reevaluating the solar market and gauge if its incentives should be increased or decreased to meet the state's clean energy climate goals. This happened back in March of this year. And the state found that there were not enough of these happening, and so they they found that not enough of these were happening at the industrial level, while enough were happening at the homeowner level, and so they decreased the incentives for homeowners and increased the incentives for larger installations to try to encourage more of those types of projects. So basically, it is a little bit like of a game because it could go up or down. But I figure, over time, as more and more residential solar comes on board, it's more and more likely that they're not going to need to incentivize it as much, and so the program values will go down. So basically, now is the best time to do it. If you can't do it now, tomorrow's the best day, and it gets worse and worse over time. Now, what's really interesting about these programs is that for most solar providers, you'll actually be the one that is potentially dealing with all of these. So you essentially have to file each year to get to claim the value of these SRECs. However, some providers, including Tesla, I think Sunrun would have done this also, will actually basically just take care of this for you, and they'll calculate what the value of it's going to be and essentially give that to you in an upfront credit. So for us, I figured that we would basically be producing, what do we say? Each year we'd be producing about 9,631 kilowatt hours. That would translate to 9 of these SUSIs or SRECs, if you just want to call it that to simplify it. So it basically always rounds down. You can't claim 0.6 credit of one. So we get 9 of these each year, 9 times $85, $765. And let's say over the course of 25 years, that ends up being about $19,000. What Tesla is doing is basically purchasing the ownership of all of this up front, and we are getting a $8,419.95 credit for that. So I couldn't exactly back calculate how they came up with that number, but so they're saying we'll produce 99 of these over the time of the system, which is about 11 years worth. So I think maybe they're taking 15 years, which is the average solar lifetime value, and basically discounting off of that a little bit since they're the ones dealing with it. And then they're probably also adding some some decreases here because there's a risk that this program could decrease further or go away entirely. So anyway, basically we're getting this credit up front, means we don't ever have to worry about it again. We're guaranteed to get this and don't have to take any risk of the program going away. And Tesla is sort of taking that risk, but giving us less of a value for it. So I don't know, fine with me. I probably would have gone maybe the other way if we had more of an option, but that's fine. I don't mind dealing with this on an annual basis. And I actually think it's fun, but whatever. At least we get the credit now and don't have to pay the money over time for it. So anyway, yeah, that's how all of the finances and stuff work with this. I am sure that was incredibly confusing. I don't know a better way to explain all of this. The best resource I actually found for this is solarreviews.com. They have a ton of different articles, calculators, and tools that you can use to help understand all of this and basically plan it out for yourself. So if I've completely lost you, I'd recommend going there. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. They basically partner up with a whole bunch of different providers, but they seem to be a really reputable source for all of this, and they're not pushing you on anything here. You can just go read all of the articles and use their calculators and stuff without committing to anything at all there. So highly recommended, and good way to learn more about this stuff. All right, so now that we've talked about the financing and just sort of how all of this stuff works, let's talk about our specific experience here and sort of how the timeline for this has gone. So I don't remember the exact date that we first put in for this, but it must have been May or June, because I can see from our account, one of the very first things that we had to provide was a upload of our monthly electricity bill, so that they could understand how much we're using and give us some calculations based off of that. And I did that at the beginning of June of this year. So essentially, like I mentioned, first you kind of go through like, the planning stages of all of this, where they'll give you an estimate of how much power they think you can produce, how many panels, and all the pricing and everything. And then once you are good with that and you put your non-refundable deposit down, you get assigned a project advisor, and they talk to you about the system design before you then move on to site assessment, the actual permissions, and installation. So basically, as we were going through that initial system design, we reviewed like what our options for the panels were, like how many we were going to get, basically. So I don't know if this picture is like actually accurate or not, but it looks like we have 27 panels on the house. I don't know. Producing that 10.94 kilowatt hours. Maybe. They walked us through that. And then basically the only real questions they had were sort of how we should do the wiring and where we wanted to put the power walls. So they came out, kind of checked and showed us like where the options would be. I think most people probably end up doing these in the garage. We didn't really work great for us because of some of the fire codes and stuff. You need to have a certain amount of space off of the wall for them. And it would have reduced our garage size considerably. And with our two cars in there, it would have been very tight fit, and I don't think we would have liked it in there. So what we ended up doing was just putting them on the outside of the house in the back, which is perfect for me. It's not like we ever need to go like look at them. And they're just kind of hanging out back there and working great. So we got to make that choice. As we kind of went through that, the step where like they actually confirmed all of that was called the site assessment. So they sent somebody out to kind of walk around and get those options. And then they ended up going up on the roof to check it out. And that's how they figured out where exactly they could put the panels and how many. So that happened back in mid-June, essentially.
All right, so we are kicking off the process finally for our Tesla solar panels, hopefully. So we're doing the inspection right now. We've got Tyler, great name, from Tesla out here, taking a look at the roof and all of our electronics, and kind of figuring out where things can actually go. So we'll see. I think the biggest thing it sounds like is going to be figuring out where the power walls can go, just because of some of the spacing limitations and safety restrictions with those. But it sounded like we have plenty of options, and he's going to go take a look, and then we'll see what he finds.
Then after that, we went through all of the paperwork. We signed about 12 different documents. Some of them were like disclosures. Some of them were applications to our energy supplier to have an interconnection there. So basically allowing the production of our solar to go back into the grid. Various like applications for the Tesla-owned SRECs, SREC purchase disclosure, SREC worksheet, multiple certificate of completions for the energy interconnection, land survey request, and our renewable energy credit schedule. Fortunately, like none of these actually say anything about how many SRECs are being generated or anything like that. So we don't really get to know any more about that. But basically, yeah, I went through all of that kind of through July, and looks like July 28th was when we essentially like signed and completed all of that stuff. And then on August 8th, we got our solar purchase agreement, which has all of the details about our how much production we're going to have, all of that pricing and everything. Even has the breakdown between like the panels, how much installation costs. So panels themselves are actually not the biggest cost. Panels were $6,237.32. The installation, permitting, and other fees were $16,000. So that's the biggest part of all of this. The inverters and balance of the system were $3,254.26. Mounting hardware is $1,627.13. We saved $500 because of the loyalty bonus. Each Powerwall was $8,000, so $16,000 totals for us. Installation of those was $6,700. $200 for accessories. I don't know what that is, but probably wiring and stuff. And then there is a $5,200 Powerwall plus solar discount. So I guess that works out to $2,600 per Powerwall. And then there were $500 in additional installation costs. And they said that was basically just because of the, like they have to go up basically above 3 floors here, go up on multiple ladders and everything. So like it's basically just a surcharge for all of that. Yeah, and then we have an $8,419.95 credit for the rebate value, and which is for the SREX, and then $100 credit for the initial deposit that we put down. So I guess it was only $100 deposit. Yeah, and we just signed all of that stuff. That was in August. Then after that, we basically sat and waited for a long time to get all of the various approvals to install. So we needed utility approval, which took quite a while, as well as permitting from the town. So we finally got all of that. Looks like maybe at the end of October, early November. And then our actual installation came on, actually took 2 days, Thursday and Friday, December 7th and 8th. So by far the longest part of this entire process was waiting the, 4 months between completing all of the paperwork and waiting for utility approval and the town permitting. Installation took about 2 days. They went up, installed everything, and it was super easy. We just needed to be home for that. We didn't have power for the first day for a few hours while they were getting everything connected. But basically in that first day, they got all the panels up, and the second day, they were just kind of completing some of the stuff. We had power back on at the end of that first day and no further disruptions to it or anything. So that was super easy.
All right, well, big day here in the Lund household. A very Merry Hanukkah to us. Our Tesla solar panels were delivered today. Apparently Tyler knew this was happening. I did not, so it was a nice little shock when I pulled into the driveway. But here they are in all their glory. Big install day this Thursday. So yeah, the holiday season has arrived. Alrighty, the big day is here. We've got our Tesla install happening. So we have 2 Tesla vehicles that pulled up this morning with the electrician inside and the install guys. They've already shut our power off. It looks like I'll be powerless for about, I don't know, 4-ish plus hours this morning. Hopefully my hotspot can last for that long, but yeah, let's see how this goes. Hopefully they can get it done all in one day. I feel bad. I was gonna make these guys a cup of coffee, but they shut my power off, so they are SOL. They're gonna have to deal with it. Hopefully their vans are nice and heated. Yeah.
And now, in the meantime, we're a week into it and we've been producing power. And then now today, exactly 1 week after they completed, our town is here doing the inspections. We need 3 separate inspections for some reason. One is fire inspection, one's electric, and I don't know what the other one is, permitting office or something. So they're completing that. And basically after that, that goes back to our energy provider, and they can then give permission for the last stages of the interconnect and net metering, which means that we can essentially provide our excess power back to them, and they'll give us credits for that. And until then, we're just kind of living off the solar. So yeah, basically end to end, somewhere around 6 months for us, maybe closer to 7. But yeah, finally here now, and everything's kind of working. So let me show you that. All right, so you can see here, this is our Tesla app, and we now have this view where we can see all of our solar production, energy usage, Powerwall storage, and a whole bunch of other things. This is really like one of the main reasons that honestly with Tesla, I think this is miles above what you get in most other energy provider apps. Plus it's one less app that we had to install and get configured and everything. So yeah, this is quite awesome, and I love that this is like basically updating in real time. You can see like the second that our washing machine, our washing machine turns on, or like the EV starts charging, the power spike up like right away. And so you can see right now, so we're coming back down. We're kind of a little bit past midday now. Actually, it's 1:35 and we're on daylight savings time now. So we're about 2.5 hours past the peak solar production time. And so we're producing 1.2 kilowatts right now, and we're using 0.8 kilowatts in our house. So basically all of that excess between what we're actually using and what we're producing is going back into the Powerwall, and you can see that's charging up now. So we have this set basically to always maintain a 20% charge in the Powerwall, and any excess will just charge up beyond that. And so how this works is like now during the day as we're producing this excess, we're filling up the battery, and later on as our solar production starts dropping, and then generally we use a little bit more power at night with the lights on and everything, you'll kind of see this switch over, and instead of like filling up, we'll start consuming more from the Powerwall. But yeah, right now, I mean, we are 100% off grid. We're consuming absolutely nothing from it. So our cost is 0 right now, which is super cool. But you'll see sometimes, like if we were charging one of the cars right now, or if we had a whole lot of lights on or the appliances were running, and we were using more than the 1.2 kilowatts, like basically we maybe start pulling some in from the grid or using some from the Powerwalls then. But yeah, I love all of the stuff that it shows here. So we can see, right now that we're charging, obviously. Here we can see how much we've produced over a couple days ago. You can see how we've been producing. It's kind of interesting. You can see here, like we went kind of up throughout the day as you normally would. This is a pretty normal curve. And then we had this big drop off probably as some clouds came over like at 12:30 or so. You can see here, like basically we're kind of, the normal curve would have been like up here, but we must have had, more cloud coverage and interruptions there. This one's a little bit more, this was like a pretty much entirely sunny day. Same thing here. And so you can see like normally we're producing somewhere between 2 and 4 kilowatts at peak. Actually pretty much every day. And basically lasts, from around, what would that be, like 7:30 or so until about, 4:30 or 5 o'clock at night. Obviously December is the absolute worst time of the year to produce solar because the days are the shortest. And you also have generally more cloud coverage than you do the rest of, or a lot of the other months. So this is about as bad as it's going to get for us in terms of total production. And then you can also just see here, like how much of an effect weather has on this. So this was a pretty rainy day. Sunday was an awful washout of a day, so we barely produced any. There was cloud cover the entire day, and we barely saw the sun. So you can see kind of a not great day is like 11 kilowatts, horrible days like 3, kilowatt hours. Good days are, 14 to 15 basically. Yeah, so I just love being able to see that and, kind of seeing these like stats day by day here. And then we can also see how much energy has been used that we produce has been used in each place. So we're using about 40% of that just going directly to the house. 61% has gone into the Powerwall and then presumably back to the house later. And this says 1% to the grid, but that's just a rounding error. We're not able to produce any into the grid yet because we don't have permission for that yet. Yeah, and then you can see here stats on our Powerwall. Here you can see no permission to export yet because we don't have the approval from the utility yet, but that should come soon. And this is for today. Let's go back to yesterday. You can see we used 100% of it going back to the house, which makes sense. 97% of it was charged from solar, which would be, optimal. We can also see solar. We can see here how much we've used from the grid. Most of that has been used just to power stuff directly in the house. Very little for the Powerwall, and we haven't had any exported yet. And then we can also just see our usage here, which is super cool. So you can see here, let's see. So in the morning, I think we were running the dishwasher. Here later on in the day, we ran the, this is when like all the lights in the house come on. You can actually see exactly when our Christmas lights go on and off because they're the least energy efficient thing in the house, and they use a whole bunch of it. You can see these two spikes here, I believe, are from us running the the dishwasher twice. And then this massive spike here is when the Tesla started charging overnight, and you can see we're using about 9 kilowatts for that. And we have that scheduled to go then. So that came entirely from grid power. Here's when the Rivian was going, which is even thirstier and lasts a bit longer. So yeah, this is a great way to like also just learn more about your energy usage and really easily visualize how much is going to each place. So for us, the absolute biggest drivers of energy use are our EVs, followed by our main electric appliances, which are essentially the clothes washer and our dishwasher. We have natural gas for our ovens and stove. We have natural gas also for the our dryer is gas powered, and our heating is natural gas as well. So you won't see any of that here. But I'm really curious and interested to see in the summer, and I'll probably do a follow-up on that, just what this looks like when the air conditioning kicks on. I don't know how much energy exactly the AC units use, but I would expect, we'll see kind of similar big jumps like we do with the EVs at that point. But we'll also, in terms of production here, we'll have much larger stretches and much higher peaks here in terms of production. So right now we are actually, let me get back there. We can see this one, how much we're being self-powered. So we're at like 20% today, which is okay. Or yeah, it's okay. Oh, that's for the week. Let's go back. Let's do day. So we're at 10% so far for the day, but we haven't cut over to the Powerwall at all. And we're also in the middle of the day, so this is going to get better and better. We look at yesterday, 34%. So you can see, so you can kind of break this down like by time of day. So 66% grid, that would have been in the morning and at night. Solar would have been throughout much of the day. Powerwall would have been basically like what excess we put into the Powerwall during the day from solar that was then used once solar production stopped. So yeah, and that basically translates to only $2, which is kind of funny to see, but hey, whatever, that adds up over time. So yeah, this is a great way for us to see like, how much we're, going truly off grid. And so, our normal days here, I'm seeing that we're generally like 30 to 40%. This is calculating based off of days that haven't happened yet. So should be a bit higher than this. And so again, this is like basically the worst time of the year for it. I mean, our consumption is pretty low right now, but our production is as low as it will ever be. And so in the spring and fall, especially, cooler days, but longer ones, we'll be producing a lot more solar. We won't be consuming all that much because the air conditioning won't be on yet. So I expect to see this, be much closer to 100%, maybe 80% or so. And then in the summer, we'll be producing the most, but we'll also, probably be using the most with air conditioning. So this will probably be somewhat similar to what we're seeing now, maybe a little bit higher still. So anyway, really cool to see. And, we've only got a week of stats so far, but I'm already learning just a lot about kind of where our energy goes and getting some projections for the future. All right, there. So lots and lots of information. Hope that all of that was useful. If not, let me know. If you have questions still, definitely let me know too. I am by no means an expert in this, but I do feel like I learned an awful lot through the process of all of this. I will definitely share some update videos, maybe in 6 months or so from now when we're producing more and we've learned even more about this. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. If you are interested in getting solar through Tesla, definitely use my referral link below. You'll save a nice $500 off of any installation. And, I definitely suggest doing this sooner than later before incentives go down and while there's still some of the rebates and stuff out there.
All right, so here we are in the back of the house, and you can see here we've got our 2 Tesla Powerwalls, which are the big batteries that basically store all of the excess energy that we produce from solar, or could even just be charged up from the grid too, so that we have a nice, reliable energy backup here. Much better than the natural gas generator that initially we were kind of looking at to get to the house. So we've got those 2 bad boys there, and then up on our rooftop, click, 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 there are a bunch of our solar panels. So you can see, let's see, we've got, was that 7 over on the right there. We got another 4 or so up there, and we kind of can't see all of them, but we come around to the front, we'll see a couple more as well. So there's a couple more tucked in between the roof up there as well. All right, and here's a bunch of our, I guess, like metering equipment, as well as the inverter that takes the energy we are producing from the photovoltaic cells up in the panels and brings it into the house here. And we've also got an emergency shutdown switch here too. This I have no idea what it is. And here's our meter, which has still not been upgraded to be the bi-directional one that allows the interconnect back to the grid for us to sell the electricity back. But that's fine because we're not producing excess right now because, as you can see, it is December and it is dark and gloomy here. Actually, while we're looking back here, one other funny thing here is we've actually got the Ring security cameras here on solar power panel as well. And I keep getting alerts that these are low battery because we get so little sun over on this side of the house, and so little right now, the shortest time of the year, that it's not getting enough to recharge each day. But we get that every year, and by the time like January rolls around, it is completely fine. All right, well, with that, thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you found this deep dive into all the financials and the process of getting solar installed and running quite interesting and useful. If so, please do go ahead and whack that like button. Yeah, with that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back out there on the road.